Hello, can you guys hear me?
How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. How are you, Beth?
Yes.
And Eric, I was beginning to wonder if I was on the wrong call. It's like, it's 12:01. Nobody else is here. What do I do?
Thank you. You have a conversation with yourself because we're recording you, right?
I always have conversations with myself, just not out loud necessarily. I'm an introvert. That's what we do. We have conversations with ourselves.
Do you answer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We live inside our heads.
That would make you a psychopath.
That's all if I start ranting and raving and talking out loud.
See, Annika comes in just when you admit you're a psychopath.
No, Tyler called me a psychopath.
Hate I missed that. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Celia.
How you guys
Hi.
doing?
Excellent. And then I know Lauren just got off the call with me and she's going to join us. So it's up to Jeff and Tyler to kick us off. You let us know how things are. See you pointing.
So first of all, I think people should be getting into that meeting, storytelling meetup agenda and notes, right? So I'm going to put that in the message thing here, just in case people don't have that. Because I'm kind of following Eric's lead from, what was it, last week's Goal 2 call, where he went through the agenda in this document. So that's my plan, is to go through that, recruit somebody to scribe. So who would like to volunteer by raising a hand and help take notes in that document I just pasted in there? Annika's kind of got her hand up.
She doesn't. I just ran 2 interviews and took 2 hours of notes. I'm out.
Oh.
I'll help you, Jeff. But
Okay. Awesome.
will you repaste the link? Because I just came in as you were doing that, so I didn't get it in the chat.
I'm doing that just now. There we go.
Cheers.
So how long should you guys, Cecilia and Lauren, are the expert facilitators. How long do we give people before we actually launch into it?
I usually allow about 5 minutes leeway. Is healthy, so it doesn't slow everybody else down. But
Lauren gives a thumbs up. I was pretty amazed by, you shared that the sign-up sheet. I was amazed how many people were on it, but I realized a lot of them signed up ages ago and I've never seen on a call, so I don't expect we'll get that. So it looks like we have 9 people right now. Looks like we have me, Cecilia, Annika, Hassan, Lauren, Beth, Eric, Megan, and Tyler. So everybody I see on here has been on a call before. Megan, I think you were on last time in July. And for those, I will paste in, I shared meeting minutes from July's call in Slack, but I'll put it in here too.
Already done.
Oh, Tyler, you're way ahead of me, man. Always. All right, so it's 12:05, so let's kick it off with a quick intro. And I think the plan is, since most people here know each other, it's just a formality, I think, right, Cecilia and Lauren? So I'm Jeff Bennett. I am your pilot for today's storytelling call, facilitating this discussion. And we'll just go online. Cecilia, and I'm in Sacramento, California. Cecilia?
Hi, I'm Cecilia Wessinger. I'm one of the ESHIP community activators in support of ecosystem builder practitioners, all of you working in your custom and bespoke ways. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but I'm aspiring to be almost as geoflexible as my colleague Christine. Not quite there yet, and probably not getting there, but I kick it off to Beth as we popcorn around.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see everyone. Beth Zimmer. I'm from Erie. My organization, the organization I work for, is called the Innovation Collaborative, and I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'll go off to Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. I am the ESHIP Communications Manager with Forward Cities, and I'm usually based in Durham, North Carolina, but I'm actually farm sitting in Southwest Virginia. So my video is turned off just because the connection can slow down a little bit. So hopefully that'll keep it on track. But yeah, I'm also founding a community project called Dreams Followed, which is an accelerator program for change makers. So I will pass it off to Hassan.
And I am Hassan Bazi. I am in Detroit, ecosystem builder.
And who would you like to chat next?
Lauren?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Higgins, and I am part of the ecosystems team at the Kauffman Foundation. And my specific focus has been on stewarding the playbook efforts, and will start to head more towards some work and projects around initiatives 4.1 and 4.6. And I'm tuning in here to see how I can be supportive of what's happening here, as well as there's a lot of interdependencies and relationships between a lot of this work, and I'm ready to be plugged in finally. So happy to be here.
And who would you like to tap next?
Oh, gee golly, yeah, see. How about Eric?
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm not joining by video, but and I'll be bailing a little bit earlier. I am in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and my main sort of interests are goals 1 and 2, but storytelling is near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate the work that Jeff, Tyler, and everyone is doing in this regard. And I will actually hand off to Tyler.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Tyler LeCompte, Daytona Beach, Florida, ecosystem builder and training.
It looks like we have 2 more people, I think, that have gone.
Yeah, I'm going to call Jess. Did you go yet?
No, sorry. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Jess Edwards, and I'm the Director of Outreach and Engagement for Alaska Ocean Cluster up in Anchorage. And so thank you for having the call today. I have 3 interests, and I just wanted to start by signing on to all 3 to see maybe where I fit and I can add value. So thank you.
Well, we definitely need somebody in Alaska, so
you win. I think there were 2 more. So I think Annika, and then there's an 860 number. So Jess, if you'd like to select which one of those.
Oh, sure. Annika and I actually met at ESHIP this year. So hi, Annika. How about you go?
Hi. Awesome. 2 people from the Great White North. Annika Horn in Toronto, Canada. I just launched an initiative called Social Ventures, shedding a light on ecosystem building for social change. So all about social impact, social entrepreneurship. Been interviewing global or ecosystem builders globally, and very passionate about storytelling. So really want to see how I can support the storytelling initiative of Kauffman and how that can align with sort of the global and social impact perspective of what Social Ventures is doing. And I am popcorning over to the ominous 860 phone number call in person, who shall be revealed shortly.
Hi, this is Bud McAllister, Partners in Healthy Communities, New London, Connecticut, and my main interest is storytelling.
Awesome. And well, welcome. I think, Bud, this is your first time on a call?
Yes.
Is it
welcome.
Bud?
Bud, B-U-D?
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome. So I think everybody's gone. Is that correct? Anybody not have a chance to introduce themselves? Okay, Tyler gives me the thumbs up. So the next point on the agenda, since we have some note takers, Lauren volunteered for that and is actively typing away. Some quick updates from project teams. So storytelling is a little bit different than other goal calls because you know, the other goal calls have sub initiatives under them, and you know, like 4.1 or 3.2 or 6.2 that Beth is in, for example. And this part of the call is I think designed to get updates as far as those initiatives go. But since storytelling crosses all goals and doesn't really have sub initiatives, I thought I would first provide some what I've seen come across as far as what's happening in the storytelling world for ecosystem builders, and then open it up to see if anybody else has any updates. And so I'm going to paste in the chat box here. Hopefully everybody can see this. just kind of what I've seen come across my radar as far as storytelling and ecosystem building over the last month or so since our last call. One of them, Annika already mentioned, is the launch of her website, Social Ventures, which is a social impact focus, and hopefully you can see a link in there. Other big news is that Yuval Yarden, many of you know Yuval. She started on this storytelling kind of journey for ecosystem building way back last summer, just after ESHIP 2018, and her focus was launching a podcast, and she just did that a couple of weeks ago, maybe only last week. So that's available on ecosystem.builders. And in addition to that, Startup Champions Network is actually producing a lot of good stories about ecosystem builders, so I encourage everybody to check that out. And so the links are all there in the chat box. Also, Ecosystem Builder Hub, which is my thing, and along with Tyler and Avery, we're continuing to source stories and aggregate stories about storyteller or about ecosystem builders. And then lastly, I would point people to CoStarters has a Medium publication called Intersections, where they're doing some writing about storytelling for ecosystem builders and about ecosystem builders. So that's what's been on my radar. Has anybody else seen anything relevant to storytelling and ecosystem building in the last month or so? Nope, nobody? Everybody's muted.
No, I think that's a really good start, Jeff. We were just talking on the ESHIP team call about the fact that the looming question around all of these efforts is how can we tell we're solving for the ESHIP goals, like getting closer, and the fact that we talked about Annika, Yuval, and Ecosystem Builder Hub, that all coming together is definitely a sign that we're moving closer, because there are now more channels, and thank you for adding the rest of them for that. So
yeah, it's pretty amazing. I first started kind of surveying the space after ESHIP 2018, and I'd come across a link here and there that was relevant to storytelling or news or articles about ecosystem building, and now it's like come across 5 a week. So it's definitely growing. But I want to give other people a chance for this general updates or project team updates. If anybody has anything that fits into that part of the agenda, feel free to speak up. And if not, we'll move on to the next bit.
Hey, this is Eric. I've got a I'm not sure if it's a question. We'll see if it is. I'm wondering, I know I'm tracking, like at least in Twitter, I'm tracking some of the common sort of hashtags and topics. I'm guessing that some other folks are doing as well. Is there any like orchestrated effort to do that yet, or is it still somewhat, a handful of us doing our own little bits?
Everybody?
And is there a concert effort to maintain like a hashtag list? Is that what you meant?
Well, I'm not doing what I'd call an organized effort, but I am capturing some pings on different hashtags and trying to, either share or do something with those when I do see them. But I don't know if that's what a few of us are doing, or if there's been any thought from folks about doing something so more organized or strategic.
Well, I think Kaufman kind of came up, around the summit, the ecosystem, hashtag ecosystem builder or ecosystem building, I can't remember which I think is the only one I've really seen, and I use it occasionally, but I don't know if there's anything else. Anybody else has seen anything? Annika, Beth, Lauren?
I make it up as I go along.
Me too.
I mean, Annika, you're pretty active on social. You're just making it up as you go?
Yeah. I know that Ashley at Startup Champions Network is curating a list of publishers, but I think that one is limited to Startup Champions Network, and that's I think mostly on Medium. So don't quote me on that. I know it's on Medium. I don't know. She's looking at ecosystem builders on Twitter, Instagram, anything like that.
Yeah, I helped her with that, and it was at the time it was focused on Medium.
Okay. So I mean, a starting point could be a very simple spreadsheet where we all just add to, and then just see what's the most common and start using those. I think that would certainly be helpful for me, so I know how to connect and corral the troops.
Okay, so start a hashtag, start documenting what hashtags are in use.
Yeah,
So maybe
ecosystem.
Twitter handle and hashtag.
Okay, those who are tweeting a lot. So, and actually, I think there's a lot of people who are tweeting about ecosystem building.
So ecosystem building is the official one that seems to be the more popular. It has way more posts than ecosystem builders.
Okay, building versus builder. Okay.
We can just start with that. Keep it simple.
Mm-hmm. Yes, as our activator is leading the charge at the top of my search. Actually, Cecilia coming in for the first 3 results. Good job.
I think I correctly captured that, but is the next action just to start to make a list of handles and tags that are in use?
Yeah, so I think a Twitter list. I know I have a Medium list that I helped Ashley at SCN curate, so we could perhaps share that. But Twitter, I think, would be a much bigger list. So I've made a note on my notes here, so capturing that there is awesome.
Cool.
So ecosystem building influencers list?
Yeah. And if anybody wants to volunteer to step up and lead that effort, that would be awesome.
Cecilia, do we have a Google Drive that is central for this?
That's something that's come up a lot on these calls. No, I mean, there is no central Google Drive. I know we've talked about that with folks at Kauffman before.
Okay.
So there's no reason why we can't create one. I know the ESHIP champions have a Google Drive where things are placed, but we could definitely put a link in Slack if that's something that you're in support of. If you create one, please feel free to share it. So it's totally up to you what you think needs to happen, and you're welcome to create one, share it amongst yourselves, and if you need anything that I can support on my end, I'm happy to help. But it's the nature of mass collaboration, right?
I was going to say mass collaboration.
I wonder if, in terms of some of these next actions that aren't like actual, like really big projects or things like that that come up during these calls, if there are folders for these calls.
Oh, are there?
Like for example, where these notes are stored and things like that. And so maybe there could be little, that might be a good place to keep.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. But who owns that drive?
That's actually shared with all of the ESHIP champions.
Okay.
It's because you're the facilitators that are hosting the calls, so you have access. And as your leaders in the community that were kind of elevated from the community, by the community, of the community, that's where it's housed. It's not a Kauffman site or anything like that.
Okay, well, that kind of makes sense to me, is to start with it there at least. Anybody else? Lorna,
we'll track that down. I know that Cecilia or Christine, I think, made those Google folders that these note documents are in, and then at least there's sort of a centralized place, I think, as we're contributing to the calls, and we can at least have sort of call-related documentation or tasks or mini projects that come up. I guess we could put stuff there.
Okay, and it looks like Erica's volunteered to help on that. It's the influencers list specific
Cheers.
to her.
Great. And then these call notes and agendas will actually live in a pinned post in the Slack channel. So anybody who's not currently on the Slack channel, if you want to reach out to me at eshipgoals@gmail, or I can send over to everyone a link to join the Slack channel, and there's respective channels for each specific goal, as well as including storytelling. So not an 8th goal, Tyler.
Okay, so
I have a little update.
Sure.
Along the lines that you requested.
Mm-hmm.
So as I kind of lightly start to see how basically what has been built here and like what people are working on, what I can share related to the Kaufman playbook, at least the print version for next year, is the main focus is going to be basically compiling the main insights from the learnings from the summits between 2019 and, or excuse me, 2017 to 2019. And we want to create content there that is evergreen or more evergreen than what I would call best, necessarily like sort of case by case best practices from city by city. We want more of the, what are the core competencies behind ecosystem building? What are the key practices, but not specifically always case examples there, so that the content stays evergreen for some years to come, so that that somebody can pick up the playbook, look at the sort of content that's been harvested from the last summits and get a sense of, how do I step into the role of ecosystem builder? You know, we can look at what we've learned together over those last 3 years. And so I'll be sharing more, and I'll put up a canvas about that for sure. But I'll be sharing more about that process and also ways to get this community more broadly involved in some of the content creation, hopefully there. And so I'm getting into the planning specifics of that, of like what I can open up and how to go about building that work. But that's basically the scope. Because that's also what we've agreed on with our board here, is that the playbook, at least that version of the playbook, is sort of a repository for the lessons learned from the summit. That's obviously only a slice of the storytelling world that exists here, you know, but so just to kind of make that transparent, that's something that I'll be, one of the things I'll be working on in the coming weeks here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other general updates or project team updates? Cecilia, did you have anything from Kaufman you wanted to share? Anything else from Kaufman?
No, I mean, Lauren's got that kind of covered, and the, just obviously with the addition of the people that are now on the call, after that email had gone out about this, about the goal meetup calls, that there's been a surge of people that have signed up for the call. So we're really excited about that. And people that I don't remember necessarily meeting at ESHIP. So obviously the newsletter has reached out to people that that are simply on the newsletter list. So.
Okay, so I want to give, anybody else have any general updates or project team updates before we move into the main meetup activity on the agenda?
I was going to make a recommendation that we start, since there's a lot of new people and some aren't on Slack, that we make sure we post all the different goal calls plus not goal 8 to the eShip Facebook. Not necessarily make an event, but share it like, hey guys, if you missed it, here's, you know.
You mean share the, well, so there's a couple things.
Share a link to the eShip goals site that's got the
okay, the dashboard.
The dashboard.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, you know, maybe a day before each of the calls, we repost it like goal 5's tomorrow, goal 4's tomorrow, you know, like, so that way, at least for a month or so, I think it'll help people that aren't necessarily on the Slack already, I think, because there's a lot that aren't.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just posted the dashboard in the chat for those who aren't on it, and I will be sure to add that as part of the email reminders that go out, and we're going to try to figure out what's helpful to everybody about when those reminders go out. Are they better to go out before, you know, the day of, or a couple of days before? I think sometimes they get lost. So.
With this crowd, yeah, 24, 48 hours at the most. You know, like literally like tomorrow, join us. So, but Annika agrees. Lauren thinks I'm crazy.
Okay, so unless anybody else has any updates, I think it occurred to me that maybe some people may this may be the first of these new format of goal calls for some people. So, and following this agenda. And so one of the things on there, if you look up in the document, this Google document, the storytelling meetup agenda notes, there's future scheduled topics for August, September, October, November, December. And below that, it's just the topics for future calls. So I just wanted to point that out to people. If people have an idea for a topic for a future call, that would be a great place to add that. My thought was that, and actually it was Annika's thought from that she shared last call, was to bring in a goal champion from each of the goals and have them as a guest and share their needs from a storytelling perspective. So like, for example, next month we bring in Goal 1 champions, which I think is Malika and Tiffany and Eric. Is that right? And have and Hassan too. And have one or more of them come on the call and share needs about Goal 1 in storytelling. And then the next month we step on down the line, Goal 2, Goal 3, etc. But if anybody else has additional ideas, feel free to add them up in those boxes on that document.
Sounds good. I like the idea. I just mentioned there's Hassan and I was pinging him to see, he's got contact with Aaron Foley, who's been the chief storyteller for the city of Detroit, who might be an interesting person. Just how do you shape a narrative for something as complex as a city? So
what was that name again?
His name is Aaron Foley.
F-O-L-E-Y?
That's correct, yeah. So Hassan says that he might be moving on fairly soon, so maybe there's a window we can grab him, but that seems like, I don't know, it seemed like it might be fun and interesting and even draw a crowd or something.
Okay, Hassan, I'll reach out to you after, offline from this call and get more information on that.
Yeah, I would be particularly, and maybe you all have jazzed around this before because this is obviously not the first storytelling rodeo, but these kinds of topics about how we're looking at the nature of shaping narrative around ecosystem building work and like what that, and examples, from other fields or people who are working, who are telling stories around complex systems, and things like that. That would be pretty fascinating for me as well. I think I would get a lot out of that, and I think it could really help shape the work we're all doing and also give a better context actually to how the playbook contextualizes the lessons that came from the summit, for example. So that would be really wonderful. And maybe I can do a little bit of background research to see if there's any key speakers or folks like Eric just suggested that might be good examples of that too. So if I bring those forward, I'll share them with the group.
Awesome. Anybody else have anything before we move on to the meat of the call? Going once, going twice. Okay. So, scrolling down the agenda, the next portion is the main meetup activity, curated content for community call. And I added these questions in there that we could have for discussion. And if anybody else has any additional ideas to talk about, please add them in there. But I thought since we're kicking off a new format of a call, we might do first is popcorn around and say for each person, what is important to you and your organization about storytelling for ecosystem builders? So who would like to go first and share what's important to them about storytelling for ecosystem builders? And if nobody raises their hand, I will pick somebody.
This is Megan. I'll go. Oh, did you?
Go.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I really think using the power of story as a way to impact education as well as cultural awareness about ecosystem building and potential barriers that entrepreneurs and ecosystem builders experience, as well as success stories around how they can effectively navigate those, as well as an opportunity and way for people to gain an awareness, access to resources around sharing those stories. So if you illuminate something that has been a success in a community, does that inspire and illuminate a pathway to success for other folks. So that's something that I think is important for me, is what does it spark, and does it create an opening or an opportunity or pathway for other folks to gain access to what they need to gain access to be successful in this
Awesome.
space.
And I think let's do this the same way that the same old way that Cecilia has initiated
So
it. Is pick the next person, popcorn to the next person.
Yeah, I'll pick it. Okay. I will go to Annika. She raised her hand.
Thank you. I come at it from two perspectives, especially in the social impact space where I've been talking to people. Is number one, the term of ecosystem building isn't widely understood. So part of what I'm trying to do is highlight these who I know to be ecosystem builders and just make them aware of the fact that that's what they are, and there are other people in the world doing this work as well. So for them, the first step is really understanding, oh, I'm not alone. There are other people in different countries who struggle with the same thing, and sort of just making them pop up and see there are other people to connect with. Secondly, I originally started out with this because I saw that there's some progress in terms of collecting data and assessing ecosystems, but I think the really juicy parts always end up on the cutting floor. When you try to collect data, there's a lot of stuff that can't be captured in that way. So to me, it's sort of the human side of ecosystem building, a lot of the personal struggle, challenges, and how people deal with whatever they face in ecosystem. So to Megan's point earlier, learning from each other and telling the things that aren't shown up in a survey study, but say a lot about the culture in an ecosystem. Okay. And I will popcorn to Hassan.
So I was thinking along the same lines of what you just said. Most important thing to me is actually talking about a sense of community, so that, because it's empowering for people to know that they're not doing this on their own. So more than anything, it's just telling the story so that there's a sense of community, so that people who are out there doing this and may not be connected to other networks are aware that they're not the only ones doing this. This is actually a thing, and there are other people doing it that you can connect to. So to me, that's probably one of the most important things. And I am going to go to Beth, who's been very quiet. So I'm going to popcorn over to Beth.
Hi, thanks, Hassan. Yeah, everything everybody else just said, for sure. The storytelling for ourselves internally is therapeutic, and I've said this more than once, that if I had not had the ESHIP community, I think I probably would have burnt out a year or so ago in this work. So having this community to talk to and share wins and struggles with is extremely important. But on the other hand, from an external perspective, I think the more the ecosystem builders come together and are having these conversations and building this community, it adds to the value of sharing with other people that may not be in the ecosystem building field, to the legitimacy of it. The more numbers, the louder we get. So I appreciate that, and I will popcorn over to the even quieter but did we lose him? Looks like we did. Okay, I'll go to Jess then.
Jess, are you still with us?
Jess, I think you're muted if you're.
I couldn't tell if it was a Justin or Jessica. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thanks for picking me. Yeah, I would just, I would like to add that similar along the lines everyone else thinks that's important. Storytelling helps connect people's why and purpose, and as great as data numbers can be for some things, no matter how impressive numbers can be, sometimes they fall flat to show significance, or they don't have the ability to make people feel inspired and connected to other people's work. So I think the storytelling is just as important as the numbers, because the anecdotal stuff gives basically the implementation and the catalyst for people to connect their whys and collaborate and grow both their purpose-driven work and their impact and results for everyone that connects. So that's what I have. Let's see. Trying to see who hasn't gotten to go. Did Lauren get to go yet? I apologize if you did.
I didn't.
Okay.
The only other thing for me that hasn't already been shared is that I'm really jazzed about peer-to-peer learning. And I feel like stories are a really powerful vehicle for that. And my previous experience, I was working with the Global Impact Hub Network and managed like 12 communities of practice across 100 cities. And it was the quality of the case studies, the stories, those types of content that we were able to generate internally as a network to share practices between cities about how we were lifting up and working with entrepreneurs or members in our communities that really accelerated hub to hub or city to city learning. And so there's so much there. So I feel like it has a big peer-to-peer learning element for me. And who else hasn't gone? I'm sorry, I was note taking until I spoke. Was it Tyler?
No one believes I can be quiet, so I was going to see how long it went. Storytelling for me, the reason I'm drawn to it, and it's been my main access into this entire community, is I was looking to find out more about this stuff and new people, and there's nothing out there. So as an entrepreneur, I went, looks like an opportunity. So my angle has always been storytelling because that's how I learn and that's how I connect, and I like to tell them, and I like to hear people's. Beth shared hers with me. Thank you. Appreciate that. You're a rock star. But I agree with everything everybody said. I think it can do all of those things and more. I think, the reason it's in every initiative is just because it's how we as humans, it's how we learn. A long time ago, I had a teacher tell me that, you break down the word history and it's his story. Now, obviously, his is humans, but that's what it is, so this is awesome, and I want to thank everybody for their continued focus and pushing on it, and for what you're doing alone and together. So it's awesome.
Popcorn time. Who you can pick?
Well, I was it, so.
Oh, you got. Well, who's next? Cecilia hasn't gone yet.
Is she?
Eric, I don't think of you. You haven't shared yet.
I call Cecilia.
Thanks, Tyler. So +1 on what everybody has said. I think it's an incredibly powerful tool, and it changes hearts and minds. It influences and inspires. The one thing that I'll add to that, so besides the +1 on everyone's conversation, is it gives us a great opportunity to advocate for each other. I found that especially in ecosystem building, sometimes you're not validated by your own community until somebody outside the community comes in and helps shed a light on you. And so that also helps strengthen the community across geographic lines. And the work that Annika's doing in particular globally is yes, you get to see that you aren't alone, but at the same time, other people in your community will actually realize that, hey, you know what? There's a person in your community that's doing epic stuff, and they deserve to be embraced and supported and all those things. And it makes people a bit more sustainable when that happens. So I love that about storytelling as well. So I will then share Actually, I'm going to call on Jeff.
And so remind me, Eric, we'll hit you after this. So all the things, as you said, that others said, and especially what you said, Cecilia, resonated. But something else that was said earlier was something about shaping the narrative. So I don't know, some of you probably know Stephen Rodriguez. He's now with Techstars and in Washington, D.C. And I had a chat with him a while back about using storytelling to shape the narrative of the new majority entrepreneurs. And I think we have the ability through a storytelling initiative to shape the narrative about economic development using ecosystem building to telling stories about ecosystem building to shape the narrative about economic development. So that's, I've seen the power that it can have telling stories of entrepreneurs here in my community, and I think we can do the same thing at a meta level about ecosystem builders. Eric, you want to play cleanup batter on this one?
Yes. Huh.
Yeah, we can't hear you, bud.
Eric, you may be muted.
Now you're not.
Hello, hello.
There you are.
Oh, you're on.
Oh, really? That's weird. It tells me I'm still muted. So something's wrong. But anyway, hey, building on and all that, I think one thing that's been on my mind, it's not exactly the answer to this question, because at least for me, I think that's been covered already, but related to what Anik was saying, something that I've been thinking more and more about is how do we take the storytelling that's happening around ecosystem building and bring that into the more traditional economic development conversation? So kind of finding the different organizations that are talking economic development and, you know, seeding that with some of the conversations and things we've learned in the ecosystem building world. No plan or anything around that, but it's something that I've been thinking about more and more, especially with a few recent meetings that are more traditional economic development here.
Excellent. Yeah. Using these stories to validate your work and your value locally, you know, should be something that everybody's taking, you know, is, you know, third-party validation is something that trumps a lot of the issues that many of you have told me about. You know, as the people in my economic development group, they don't believe that this works or that's da-da-da-da-da. But, you know, when you put them in front of the mic and they have to answer the questions, you know, then it really pays off. So that's a great point, Eric. Thank you.
Can I add to that?
Yes, please.
I just got off a call with an ecosystem builder in Ecuador, and she said, you know, I would even be willing to pitch in, if it was a few of us, to hire a PR agency and tell the story of ecosystem builders for social impact at Forbes. So I don't have to continuously explain to everybody in my community what it is I'm doing. I would just have a legitimate Forbes article that says, here's what this is, here are the champions, here's how you can support. And that just somehow stuck out from the whole conversation. So maybe that is part of our goal. If we can recruit a number of people who say, not in terms of paying a PR agency, but I think making the voice heard in mainstream media, be it about economic development, whatever those stakeholders are that we want to influence and tell our story to. I think there is there's so much great potential. I'm not even going to say there's great potential here. In ecosystem building, everything is great potential. But I just want to share with you, that's what I heard in the field, and it seems very appropriate.
Beth, I know you got to be dying to pipe in on that one.
Yes, thank you, Annika. I'm looking for folks that want to join the team around Goal 6.2, which is very related to storytelling, but externally focused, called a Global Awareness Campaign. I think, like Jeff said earlier and others, is, you know, we need to do a Got Milk kind of campaign globally so that the whole world understands what entrepreneurial ecosystem building is, why it's important to our global economy, and how we need to legitimize this thing and get it resourced so we can sustain it in perpetuity. So we've seen it work community by community, but now we need to do it on a more global scale. So if you're interested in helping and working to lead that charge, please let's get together, and your friend in Ecuador and anyone else that you might be aware of. And I know Jeff and Tyler and I have been trying to find time to connect on the subject, but it's just been impossible with our schedules so far.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely a parking lot item for, Annika, 6.2 is best baby, and we've been, like you said, trying to get together to see how the storytelling initiative and EB Hub can help with 6.2. So it sounds like you're passionate about that, Annika, as well. So let's definitely convene something else in addition to this call, and that's a project team under storytelling.
I was just about to say that, and that's a nice segue too, Jeff. As Avery, Jeff, and I are continuing to figure out what is Ecosystem Builder Hub, one of the main things we realize is that we have the ability to push out everybody else's stuff, and almost provide that level of like a PR campaign, making sure that it's getting its touches and social media is sharing. So I think a project team that's like some sort of social activation, it's like, okay, we've got a team of writers and contributors, but when the influencers list, it's like, okay, we're, everybody push this article, please. Everybody push this article, please. So it's always so fun to wake up every morning and see like across the groups, like as the articles start to disseminate across and see who's there. I really geek out on checking out the likes list and seeing how many people I'm not friends with. I think if I find a likes list on somebody that I know's article that I don't know anybody on there, I think that's awesome and amazing, because that means it's way outside my circle, and even and that's getting to happen more and more. So this is great stuff, So anybody has anything in the meantime that needs a little push, don't hesitate to ask us. That's kind of one of the reasons we've made Ecosystem Builder Hub.
So I don't want to lose track of that or derail that. But I think it's probably something we want to, put in the parking lot. But Annika or Beth, would one of you take on the role of kind of convening a group of us external to this? Maybe it's organizing just another call sometime. Somebody want to step up and champion that?
I am happy to pick up that.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Go ahead.
Is there room for one more comment, or you want to jump?
Yeah, go for it. No, it's kind of free and open for now.
Okay, cool. I'm on your train, Jeff, so you just tell me. I really am appreciating the direction that this conversation is taking. It's really inspiring, because one of the biggest questions I've had in working with entrepreneurial communities for all of these years is like entrepreneurialism or entrepreneurship towards what? And sometimes I feel like when I'm working in entrepreneurial communities, there is less of a conversation about the broader economy. And I feel like this is a place, and looking at the design of the broader economy, what it values, what it doesn't. And this is the first space that I've started to notice where some of those things are emerging more clearly, at least between the entrepreneurship conversation and the new economy conversation. But for example, last summer, I went to the New Economy Coalition conference that was here in St. Louis. And it was really interesting for me to hear the disconnects in narratives, because about 2 weeks later, I went to ESHIP. And I could hear that at the New Economy Coalition, there are tons of practitioners. There are cooperative entrepreneurs. There are all kinds of folks that are focused on building a new economy. And they speak very explicitly about the values, the new design of the economy, et cetera. And yes, many of them are entrepreneurs, and that's not their main focus there, but they're very explicit about the new narrative of how to, or talking about a narrative around the new economy and building that together. And then I came to ESHIP, and I felt that it was, it lacked some of that element, right? Where there weren't people who were engaging around, well, where are we actually headed inside of our broader economy? Yes, we want to support these individuals, but what's the broader economic narrative that has to also shift that entrepreneurial ecosystem building and sort of community building in general is undergirding here? And so for me to hear some of these conversations is really powerful because I feel like it's missing a lot of times. It's like entrepreneurship towards what kind of economy are we actually building? How clearly do we articulate that as part of the broader story, right? And I think it's pretty powerful to hear some of that here, and I really am inspired, so thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments on the first bullet point of the main meetup? We've got like 9 minutes left, so I don't know that we'll get through the other bullet points, but maybe we just leave it at that first one today. Anybody else have any further comments on what's important to you about storytelling and ecosystem building? Nope. So real quick, maybe we can popcorn around real quick. What are you hoping to get out of these storytelling meetup calls? Is there anything that you're not getting today? If there's not something you're getting today that you would like to see out of these calls, anybody? So this call is perfection.
Sure, I can add. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Jess.
Oh, so, even if it's like a 2-minute update, or if people just want to say what's worked well for them, I think practical tips and tricks are always helpful, and, usually something stands out where someone can use it. So, especially because up here, up in Alaska, like we're very rural, and I know ESHIP last year, or this last ESHIP, they focused on rural innovation, which was great, and that's something that I came from non-rural background. So basically, tips and tricks for diverse ecosystem storytelling, different landscapes, maybe a tips and tricks for different landscapes. That would be great.
Okay. Anybody else?
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I do really well with specific deliverables, so I'm still would love. So maybe this comes from having the working group that we just talked about, but really, as you know, Jeff, I love a good work plan. So having a specific deliverable in mind that we're really striving towards. Anything that gives me, if we're only checking in once a month and we do some work in between, I need that anchor of remembering what is it we're trying to do, what is that result going to look like. So I know I can come in, I can report on progress, I can share challenges with regards to that one thing we're trying to do, and then help working towards that.
Okay, so specific deliverables. So basically, what I'm hearing you say is specific initiatives that you can go off and tackle around storytelling and ecosystem building.
Yes.
Okay. We can assign stuff to you if you like. Anybody else?
That's my job.
I think along that track, something that we're considering implementing in our local community coalitions is thinking about space at the end. I mean, in wrap up, that if anyone has felt, and this kind of speaks to Annika, the accountability within ourselves, like what's the thing I can hold on to. But if there's any self-generated ahas or action steps that we're inspired by to follow up on in the next 24 hours, then having that as a structure can maybe spark a thought for people to think about, maybe I haven't been given a deliverable yet, but there's something within this that I'm inspired by, and if I can speak that into a specific action step that I'm going to take in the next 24 hours, then that can create some group accountability as well as momentum around moving the work forward within ourselves too.
So let me see if I can recap that. So finishing up the call with each person saying what specific action steps they'd like to take or plan to take. Is that it?
Within the next 24 hours is a way to keep the momentum going. Okay. Or it could be a longer time frame, but it's just a suggestion.
We might just do that on this call.
Yeah, one never knows.
We've got like 4 minutes left. So anybody else have anything specific around what they're hoping to get out of these storytelling calls that they didn't in this call?
I would love to see people start nominating other ecosystem builders to be featured or interviewed, so that we can. Jeff just shared some links. We've got an editorial calendar and some other stuff, but I really think every one of the ESHIP champs, and as people begin to come on, doing a piece, if it's us or if it's on Social Ventures or if it's via co-starters or startup champions or anybody, whoever it is, I think we should start a list of people nominating to say, hey, this person deserves some recognition. Can somebody do an article? Or this person needs help. This person's being challenged, either financially or something like that, and we should be able to activate the Army.
Okay.
So.
Ideally, as other calls create content, right? As other calls have speakers or people that come on these goal meetup calls, and dialogue and conversation is generated. Hopefully, that's actually fodder for more content for all of you. So hopefully, maybe there's a way. And I don't have a specific proposal, but there's a way to sort of check in on some of the ideas and things that are bubbling up in the other goal calls, so that if those are pieces of content here for the storytelling group, that the other goal calls can nourish your storytelling activities.
Exactly.
Anybody else? This is kind of not about what's missing on this call, but the notion of bringing champions for each goal onto calls is phenomenal. Taking that a little bit further, it might be great if we could ask each goal champion to give 2 or 3 paragraphs as to what they're thinking storytelling can help them achieve in advance. So we have time to kind of absorb that, but also have it, in a repository somewhere.
Okay.
Or I wonder if we could, not hijack, but ask them for one of their calls during the next year or something like that, to have a dialogue with their call community about storytelling, and even generate further, so that they wouldn't have to synthesize the thoughts, but also, in addition to that people could bubble up their thinking for all the people who are joining those calls, because I'm sure they're thinking of a lot of things as well.
Yeah.
All right, it's getting real close to the end, so if anybody has to jump off, no bad feelings. But I actually thought Megan's idea was a great idea, so let's end with that and just take a minute to wrap up any action items or steps you're taking from this call that you're going to do within the next 24 hours. And I'll start off and say I'm going to compile the notes from this and figure out the next call and hopefully share out some kind of a summary from this. There's a lot of great content and ideas here, and I want to capture it and strategize with that, figure out what to do next. So anybody else have something they want to take away, and action items are going to take away from this?
I am going to start on a document that tracks who's already had some articles on it and try and add in people, so maybe I can contribute to that. And I'm also going to make sure Jeff does everything he said he just would.
This is Megan. I'm going to actually, I got to check out Social Ventures right before I headed on vacation, and I loved it, and I shared it with some of my staff at Forward City. So I'm going to actually email Annika back and share her my thoughts with her on it, which I've been wanting to do for a couple weeks. And then I'm also going to go to my calendar and carve out recurring time each week, one for taking in stories of ecosystem builders and actually like reading through what's available, and then one for idea generating and action steps in alignment with our storytelling.
Love it. Awesome.
And I'm just letting people volunteer themselves, but it seems like that's the direction we're headed, but I'll pick somebody if you want me to.
I've got to jump off, so I'm going to say bye, everybody. You're all
Thanks,
awesome.
Tyler.
Bye, Tyler.
Yeah.
See you, kids.
So I'm going to put together a doodle poll immediately after the call to get folks reignited behind 6.2. And I'm going to include Annika Tyler, and Jeff. If anyone else is interested, please ping me. And I'm also going to take a deep dive into social ventures and learn all about what you're up to, Annika, and I can't wait to jump on to ecosystem.builder as well.
Anybody else? Hassan, Eric, Cecilia?
So I will reach out to Aaron to see if he's still with the city, and I will connect Jeff.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm gonna, sorry. I'm gonna go on Slack and see if anyone in this initiative has any thoughts around PR efforts to connect ecosystem building with the wider conversation, to Lauren's point of how do we not just talk to ourselves, but are aware that there's other people out there who want to learn about this, because it's just too big for me to think about. And I don't feel like I have the training or the skills or the insight to do that really well, but maybe someone in the ESHIP Storytelling Initiative has a resource who would be willing to talk to us about how to best approach this in an efficient and effective way.
So I think I could cross-post that into Goal 6 also,
Cool.
which has got the universal support.
How do I get into that Slack channel?
You can just go ahead and join when you go into Slack. And so the best way to do that is when you pull up your Slack, you can go into the area where it says channels and see what other channels are out there that you'd like to join. So you pull up all channels. If you run into a problem, just message me.
Thank you.
Eric, you want to go before I go?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So let's see. Yeah, I'm interested in being in on 6.2 as well, Beth. And the other thing I was going to do is a sketch of, I guess, sort of a little bit of a strategy or some thoughts about getting influencers related, or influencers and sort of high value tweeters and folks on the ecosystem building topic. Let's see, and I'm not sure who else has not gone.
Okay, so I'm going to take this recording and put it on the dashboard like I do with all the other recordings. And then I'm going to pin this to the Slack channel so that you have this to refer back to. But more so, outside of all of this, I will be sharing, liking, and tweeting about all the articles that you share, and all the stuff that's out there. So trying to be true to advocate for each other is I want to play my role in sharing that across my circles as well. So that's my mission. Jeff?
Well, I think I already said mine. Jess, I think you said, right? Do it S versus F? Okay, Jess.
Sure. Me, okay. So the two things that popped out from the call that I thought were important and something for me to think about was I do agree about how are we telling the story of how ecosystem building connects and improves the broader economic development initiatives. So I'm stewing on trying to come up with, I have a couple ideas for some storytelling series that we can highlight not just ourselves, because we all know how important ecosystem building is working, but the friends of the ecosystem builders that we work with in government and elsewhere to start spreading it like wildfire, the connection. So my homework is to come up with a few speaker series suggestions and share it with the group and see if anyone else thinks that it might be worthwhile trying out.
Okay, thank you. I think everybody had a chance to go. Am I right? Okay. I guess we're time to wrap up, time to close. So I want to thank you all for attending today and for all your input, lots of great ideas. So stay tuned to all your ESHIP channels for more. And Cecilia, Lauren, was there anything else I needed to do to wrap this thing up?
You're a superstar. This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you all. I guess we're calling it a wrap. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks so much for hosting us, Jeff, and nice to meet all of you. Looking forward to
Thank you
more.
for your leadership, Jeff and Tyler. See you soon.
Cheers. Bye.